Hey guys.
What's up?
Boyd, Richie, welcome to the podcast, guys.
Sure.
Super excited to have you here.
It'll be very cool.
Mr. Quan,
Good.
good having you in the house again.
Always.
Hey, Boyd Allen.
Thank you.
Let me tell you guys a story. So, towards the end of last year, I decided to start a bloody podcast. And of course, we have very mutual friends, being a Springs boy.
Yeah.
And from the moment I started the podcast, I started getting requests to have you on the podcast. It was just absolutely ridiculous. And since then, and with the run up to obviously the fight that's coming up and all these rumors that have been going around, these requests to have you the podcast from our friends and from our mutual friends has just increased and increased and increased.
Yeah.
So it's so flipping good to finally have you on the podcast, man. How are things? How are you doing?
Yeah, good so far.
So far?
Yeah.
All right. Lovely. Richie Quan, are you well?
I'm always good.
Lovely, man. Lovely. So, dude, what I'd like to do, if possible, man, I want to start right in the beginning. You're obviously a Springs boy.
Yeah.
I'm a Springs boy. We've walked some long roads together, some good roads. But I'd really like to have a chat way back when. I mean, I know that you started your whole fight career, not in pubs, right?
Wow.
Wow. But actually at the Springs Amateur Fight Club.
Yeah.
Is that it? Where was that?
Yeah, so I started boxing essentially at Springs Boxing Club, Burke Collins. And that's just behind the abattoir in Springs, next to Pembroke Stadium, which was a beautiful stadium at one point. It's now run down. We were there not so long ago.
It's like zombie apocalypse.
Bad,
EFC build up.
Bad. You don't drive slowly.
No, yeah. It's quite sad to see what it's become. Knowing what it was. I mean, the Springboks played there, the Sharks, the Falcons. It was a beautiful stadium, and now it's just been sort of left to the wolves.
Yeah.
And that's where I started my amateur boxing career, which essentially led me to MMA. And before that it was just Springs.
Yeah, but before that, was there not aspirations of being a rugby?
Yeah, so my goal from probably around standard 6 to matric was to be a professional rugby player.
Yeah.
I played for the Bokkieberg team, the Eastern Buffaloes, made the English medium schools team, Craven Week team, and played first team from grade 10, standard 8. Played for SA Rhinos for rugby league, and so that was sort of my goal and my path. And my younger brother obviously sort of invited me to go and train at the boxing club in Springs one night. I was just about 18, and that's where it sort of just kicked off.
So this was actually Quade who got you into boxing?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he had started going with a friend of his, and I didn't think much of it. And he said, look, it's really cool. It's like the movies, this old little dingy boxing gym. You smash each other, and
hoodies
Rocky tough up. And I'm just going to try it out. There's some tough guys from Nigel and all over the place that are sparring and that. And obviously, it was all about territory, and it was all about, looking after yourself in the street at that stage. And we needed to learn how to do that. So that's what got me interested and got me to go to the boxing.
Yeah, very similar thing for me for jiu-jitsu. I mean, I also did boxing and stand-up, and I did everything, and the jiu-jitsu side, but that was exactly it. It's in a small town like Springs, it's a matter of survival.
Yeah.
Most certainly.
Exactly, yeah.
So you start boxing, right? And how many amateur, because I actually don't know, but how many fights did you actually have?
So 34 amateur fights in total.
Jeez,
and
that's a lot of fights.
30 wins, 4 losses.
It's a lot of getting punched in the face.
Yeah, I mean, I won the Gauteng title, and that was at just under 75 kilos, so at about 73. That was middleweight at the time, and then I won the South African title and held that for 2 years. While Quade had the South African junior welterweight title at the same time.
Jeez,
So we held the title for a while, and then it became a thing of not being able to get fights. We would go to weigh-ins, and there'd be 6 guys in our division, but they'd all fight each other and sort of avoid the 2 of us. And that's what pushed me to go towards MMA.
But you said they avoided you. I mean, how did they avoid you? Was there no governing body that regulated or
some of the coaches
decided
knew,
the fights? Or?
A lot of the guys would fight more than once, and a lot of the coaches knew, okay, well, my guy's not going to be Boyd, or my guy's not going to be Quade, or they've already fought twice and they've lost twice.
So what's the point?
What's the point?
Yeah.
So you end up.
And I mean, also in all fairness, in a small pool, that's what happens.
You end up training for, at that stage, a month was a long time to train for a fight, and then you go and you sit the whole day, and and you weigh in at 7 and you wait till 7 or 3 in the afternoon to see if you get a matchup, and you don't. So you're kind of just wasting away and
agreed.
training for nothing.
So the boxing amateur scene is very like all over the place. So it's very unorganized and that type of stuff. So
that's where I started looking at MMA, and my first MMA experience was through a friend of ours, Glenn Campbell, where he said to me, come with me to Rumo, where Huntley and all the guys are rolling and doing jiu-jitsu. I had never heard of it, and that's where I went through to Nathan Roth's gym at the time in Bremen. That was my first real MMA experience, where I got to see
that's right, I forgot
an
about
MMA
that
gym with like Dino Bagatine and yourself and JP Misa and like, you know, all
Carl,
rolling around,
all the guys,
and I didn't think much of it, and I was like, I don't want to do this rolling around stuff.
Gay boys in pajamas.
So, and that was kind of my first introduction to MMA and jiu-jitsu.
I didn't actually know that.
Yeah.
That was your first time.
And at the first time I didn't enjoy it, purely because I knew nothing about it.
Sure.
And I think when we started more rolling away from that gym and just doing our own little private sessions where it sort of started, that's where I kind of started enjoying jiu-jitsu and the art of it.
Yeah, because it was just a group of you really just messing about, eh?
Yeah, and then from there, obviously Rio Grappling in Springs was the only MMA gym at that time, and that's where we went and started training with Oogie.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
Yeah, he was one that got me to go and start doing stand-up there, where you kind of mixed everything up. Obviously I came from a boxing background and had that boxing, but I was still boxing at the time. So I just kind of had to start to learn everything else that goes with it.
Yeah, I remember us preparing for a fight, just doing hand pads and warm-ups at our local gym, and I mean like weights gym at Flex Appeal at the top, and I can remember us doing hand pads and dragging mats there to roll them.
Yeah, people would look at us as like, what the hell?
As if we were freaks.
We've never seen anything like this in our lives.
Aliens. Yeah, and then I mean we've discussed this before on the podcast with Richie, but right where we're sitting right now is where I had my first set of mats.
Yeah.
And we used to roll right here, open up the doors. The viewers can't see, but there's a pool right here.
Yeah.
And afterwards we'd fall in afterwards and have a little bit of a swim, and I mean this is where we were training. It was ridiculous, and I mean I was at that stage I was a blue belt, but I mean the level of blue belt now versus the level of blue belt then, I was a shocking blue belt. I mean, I must have been, right? And I was teaching because there was nothing else out there.
Yeah.
But that's natural of evolution. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I still remember you showing me setups for one of my, still today, favorite submissions.
Rear naked choke.
Rear naked choke,
Yeah. I can actually remember in Flex showing you that rear naked choke, and as he defends it, to slip it the other way. Yeah. And I mean, if you look at your fight record, and I've been obviously looking at a lot of your fights over the last week, because we forget, you forget just how much you've actually fought. And it's rear naked choke, rear naked choke, rear naked choke.
Say that again?
7.
It's a lot of rear naked chokes, right?
Yeah.
So Boyd Allen's actually a submission specialist.
Yes,
thank you.
Listen, we're going to discuss this later, because you look at Sherdog and you look at EFC, right? And this, what they say, but it's just your submission. How many of your fights have you won by submission?
80%. But the thing is, it's a big joke in the gym, because we make fun of each other when you get the submissions, because obviously everyone wants the KO and that type of stuff. And I think it's Boyd always wants that one punch where a guy literally just becomes a zombie mode and falls down.
Goes rigor mortis. So check this out, guys. Running from your first fight, right, which was unanimous, so that was just a decision. Guillotine, rear naked choke, rear naked choke, rear naked choke. Unanimous decision, punches, armbar, rear naked, guillotine, rear naked, punches, split, punches, unanimous. So you're looking at least 60% of your fights right here finished with submissions.
But you know why though? He strikes them into submission.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what people don't understand. And I love it when they look at this guy and go, oh shit, he's a submission specialist. I'm like, yes. That's amazing.
Finally, I've done my job as a coach.
No, because then guys want to stand and they realize, and then they get cracked or dropped or freak out and shoot for the takedown, and then that's where the other part jumps in.
Yeah, so I think most of my submissions are opportunistic, with them either going for the takedown or
rocking them.
Yeah, tagging them, dropping them, and then finishing the fight with a submission. That's how most of my submission wins
Your submissions don't really come from ground game, takedown, playing there for 2-3 minutes. It's a question of, I've rocked you, you're down, finish. I mean, if you look at your guillotine against Wesley Hawkey, I mean, you hit him, he sat down against the cage, and you standing guillotined him. It was ridiculous.
Exactly.
What has been such a pleasure for me is watching the transition, because you've always had the slickest hands. I mean, that just is what it is, right? You're super fast, and you're exceptionally crisp. So, and I've seen over and over and over again that crispness where you're hitting that same spot over and over again. I mean, it's a bit sadistic and devious. But so watching the evolution of
Why are you not looking?
My nose and my forehead still ache today.
Yeah, still to this day. You wake up in the morning and you remember the pain. But the evolution of the striking to the jiu-jitsu, right, most certainly. And then the evolution of your leg game. And when I say leg game, I mean kicking game. Because you sucked.
Yeah, no. Before I met Rich, I couldn't kick.
No, we know this.
We laugh about it. But
absolutely, guys. But I mean, isn't that the progression? And to watch this progression, the slow development of what is an actual mixed martial artist. You know what I mean? And for someone like me who's been friends with you and sort of, you know, by virtue of our location, just supported you my whole life and our friendship. But just to watch that, you know, it's been such a pleasure. You know, your fight against Caleb, I mean, that was such a good fight.
Yeah.
Such a good fight. John Paul Meza got me VIPs, right? So he spoke to me this morning and he said to me, are we going to get tickets for the fights? I said, please, bro. And he said, I'm going to see if I can get VIPs. And I said, no. You've spoilt it now, right? I expect VIPs. I want to be right in the front. So you've created your own monster now. This isn't
you guys
my
were
problem.
right there when I walked out.
Yeah, I remember walking out there.
Yeah, we were right there. So it was very, very, very cool. You know, because I either want to be in the back or I want to be right in the front. You know, I've been to so many EFCs, guys.
It's a cool experience to be in the front.
Yeah.
You know,
especially for like fighters that you know.
That's it.
Oh, that's very cool.
That's it.
And he was a good opponent.
He was a very good opponent. And we'll most certainly talk about the fights now. I just want to quickly go back. Rio, after Rio, you and Tiny got involved.
Yeah, so I was fighting for a promotion called Fight Force at the time down in Durban with Larry Foster and Mark Stradham. And it was a beautiful promotion. It was actually one of the nicer events that I fought at. And I had 6 fights with them before I started my EFC career, with 2 losses, 4 wins. I had lost to Hector Brits via guillotine, and I lost to Ronald Lamini on points at a last man standing competition, where I would have probably faced Michiel Opperman in the final, who was 92 kilos and I was 72. So it was probably a good thing that I didn't go through. And those were my 2 losses before I had started at EFC, before I had signed with EFC. And once that was done, I was training at a gym in Boksburg, which was Titan FC.
That's right.
Titan Fight Club.
Titan Fight Club.
Tiny sort of saw me fighting at Fight Force, sent a message through a friend of mine, Byron Bellotto, to get hold of me and say that I was more than welcome to go and train at their gym. And at the time I was going through 3 times a week to Harold Fulbrecht's gym in Joburg South and boxing there at one with Tommy and Flo and those guys. And on my way back I would stop in Boksburg and train with Gert Stradham. I did pads with him, train with JP Kruger, train with JD Duplessis, Ryan de Vasconcelos, those guys, and then head through to Rio Grappling and do my stand-up and jiu-jitsu at night.
That's a regimen and a half.
A lot of training, a lot of traveling.
A lot of traveling and a lot of training, but it wasn't all the right training, and it wasn't the smartest way to do things at that time.
But that's all what was available for you.
Exactly. And I was just about to say, you know, in hindsight, it's all we knew.
So, I mean, we got in sessions wherever we could because we just loved doing it. So I don't frown upon it or look at it in a bad way. It's just lessons learned. And Tiny was actually the one that got me to go to FFM and meet Rich. And he said to me, look, if you want to take it seriously, and it looks like you're one of the only guys at the gym at the moment that do, then there's only one place to go, and that's FFM with Rich. And he said that, you know, it's the only place that you can sort of pursue a professional career at this stage. And I knew nothing about it, and I thought, well, let me give it a shot. And I went and I had an interview with them, and that was in December in 2011. And January 2012 is when I started my career at FFM and my probation to my first fight, which was 3 months, where I fought on EFC 12 against Donald and Zawara March 12th. So I had 3 months training camp, and that was my first fight out of FFM.
But Tiny's played a massive role.
Massive role.
Massive role for Boyd. Even today, Tiny, obviously Boyd talks
massive support
a lot.
structure.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
That fat boy's done.
Let me tell you, I love him so much, and I hope he listens to this, because the amount of messages he sends me to say, I need to come and roll, and I'm like, dude, we're right here.
I think he's embarrassed to roll because I've got more tattoos than him.
That's amazing. You just got called out. So I want to quickly touch on something. Sorry. You guys actually do an interview process.
Yeah, at that stage.
Yeah. To
really?
a degree. Things have
changed now?
Yeah, but
things have changed, but it was more
introduction.
Yeah, it was an introduction, and also just to sort of see where your mindset is. They didn't want guys joining the pro team that were kind of just interested in learning how to fight because that's what they enjoyed doing.
I've got you.
We still have a probation period.
Really?
Yeah. We still have a probation.
It was more like if this is what you're serious about, this is how we run things, and if you're in, you're in. If you are, if you're not going to be in 100%, then don't come to these classes. Rather join the general classes, because at that time it was an insane regiment. I mean, we were training. I remember Tuesdays we did 7 sessions. So that was like a scary sort of.
What we used to do compared to what we do now, it's much smarter. That was still experimental days.
Of course.
It was still me understanding the human body and mind, and understanding how to run a team. And
6 years ago.
So back then compared to now, it's like black and white.
Oh, absolutely. Because I mean, I joke. I speak to my students now, and I say to them, I wish you guys could come to 1 week's classes when I first started jiu-jitsu, because if you left and you didn't have a blue eye, a blood nose, and this is jiu-jitsu, right? You didn't have a blood nose, you didn't have an arm bar arm, you had a really good night. It was the Wild West. It was ridiculous. We knew nothing. And I mean, not for 1 second putting Nathan down. I mean, he was a white belt, but we knew absolutely nothing. And now I'm looking at the guys and I'm teaching them about longevity, and we're stretching correctly because we all jiu-jitsu guys have back problems. I mean, ask me, because I didn't do that and I suffer now for it, and it's about being intelligent and the longevity.
Smarter.
Training smarter, that's the biggest thing.
Definitely. And so began your sojourn with FFM.
So it started, it was obviously a hard 3 months, and you want to prove yourself and sort of show the team that you've committed to them, because they've committed to helping you reach your goal that you want.
Of course.
And that was my UFC debut, and after that it took a lot of pressure off of me, and it felt like a weight was lifted off my shoulders, and it felt like you were now part of the team. You've kind of paid your dues, and you could start to enjoy your training as opposed to stress about it and go, I have to do it, like it's a necessity. Now I'm going to start having fun, and that's where we started adding in so many different tools to my game. My first fight I could not kick, and that's absolutely Rich picked it up and he said, okay, cool, now we're going to work on your legs. And we did.
Training for a fight is not where you add the tools in.
No.
And the guys know that.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more.
So when you don't have a signed contract for a fight, that's where you actually
when you play.
That's where you learn.
And this is what I try and say to my guys, when you're not fighting, be in class in a gi, be rolling, be experimenting, be having fun. Absolutely. You
have to enjoy it.
There's nothing I can teach you 2 weeks before your fight. Nothing. In some instances, with a higher caliber jiu-jitsu guy or a higher caliber MMA athlete, I may be able to integrate something in your game fairly quickly, but for a younger guy, it can take up to 6 months to integrate an idea into your game.
Yeah, maybe just certain scenarios that you may be in that you could practice sort of escape.
Sure.
Or
But
getting out.
I can't take your game and go, I need to actually tilt it and move it now in a different direction 2 weeks before a fight. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, I go to some amateur productions and I'm sitting in the back, you know, we've got a bunch of amateur guys and we've got a really, really cool little amateur team, man. And I don't say little because the guys are all little. We've got a big amateur team, but such a great little amateur team. And I sit in the back of these change rooms and I watch coaches teaching their students
on the mouth
things there. So if he does this, do that. And I'm thinking, bro, that oak isn't even listening to you. He's in his own world. He's stressing. He's
going to fight.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's not the best environment for teaching.
I mean, we see it so many times.
We
You even see it in the corners. I mean, that hostile environment, people are not going to respond to new instructions.
No,
it has to all be
muscle memory, game plan.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I've watching your fights. It's actually very interesting because I've sat and watched a few of your fights. Just again, you know, I mean, most of your fights have been there live, but you're in a live environment. You don't really take that. You're watching the fight. I'm not watching the nuances.
Yeah.
Most certainly not. And rewatching the fights now, it's very interesting to hear what comes from your corner, Richie. Very, very interesting. It's not so much instructions as it is validation. You know, hit him, yes, well done. And it's this constant it's very interesting to watch it.
Yeah.
And it's the first time I've actually done that.
Swear words.
Yeah.
Swear words.
No, we got a
Oh, guys, we're not doing synchronized swimming.
Yeah, exactly. We got code words so we've got our own language in the corner that the guys basically learn.
Really?
Yeah. So like we have code words that will represent certain things, like a kick, a takedown, foot movement, all that type of stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, some gyms have caught onto it and they know to the point where they probably even use it as well.
Yeah.
You know, so
Actually, they do.
But isn't this the evolution, guys?
Of course.
Yeah.
Isn't this what it's about? And then it pushes you to be better and it pushes them to be better. Listen, I don't. At the end of the day, take away the personal relationships that I have with a lot of MMA fighters. Right. All I really care is about the progression of the sport. I mean, that's really what it's about. Because as the sport progresses, it's good for everyone.
Yeah.
And as the sport grows, it's good for jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
You know, and it's good for Muay Thai, and it's good for everything.
Yeah.
People forget that, and we've been talking about this word MMA, mixed martial arts, which I only use exclusively versus cage fighting, because cage fighting has this very negative...
It's a very broad spectrum of blood on the brain.
Blood on the brain, yeah, exactly. But what people forget though is, people forget that, let's take the last 100 years into account. In the last 100 years, we've become very, very civilized, very, very quickly.
Yeah.
Massively so. But even 100 years is pushing it, okay? Because, I mean, just in the last, take away the last 50 years, the previous 50 years, look how many world wars there were, where hundreds and millions of young men went to test themselves.
Yeah.
Test themselves. And pre that, you fought for survival, you fought for your life, you fought for your camp, you fought for your tribe.
Yeah.
You always tested yourself. There was always this element of a young guy at a certain age going out and testing himself. And a lot of people have such negative connotations to any type of fighting, regardless of what that fighting is. But what they don't understand is we need it. As males, we need that test.
Yeah, it's natural.
It's a natural progress.
Because if it doesn't happen in the club, in a controlled environment, it's going to happen on the street. Without a doubt.
Yeah.
And then there's variables.
Yeah.
Glasses, knives,
Yeah.
bar stools.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We need this. We need this environment. We need to be tested.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can get into the whole like masculinity thing, you know, but like men need to validate themselves at the end of the day to some degree. And you know, with society today going that, well, you have to be passive and you can't offend anyone by saying X, Y, Z.
Oh, I know.
And if you don't, but if you offend them, then you know it's racism or it's
Microaggressions.
Microaggressions,
That's ridiculous.
and they throw out these big like labeling words where it's not actually any of that.
No.
You know, and also like little boys to teenagers have no place to kind of like wrestle a little bit and like
find themselves.
Let boys be boys.
Yeah.
No, I couldn't agree more. I mean, there's a very big difference between me testing myself and me being blatantly racist or sexist. Or, I mean, that's parenting.
Yeah.
You know, that's parenting. But at the end of the day, I want to test myself. I want to have some fun.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got safe spaces in universities in the States right now.
That's ridiculous.
A safe space. And you know what the problem is? How does that belie the reality of what these kids are going to in the workspace? Because in the workspace, there's no safe spaces, boys. You're going to test yourself. You're going to prove yourself.
In life.
There's no safe spaces. No. Please, Mr. Robber.
Yeah, exactly. But not only that, you've got so many different cultures and religions.
Yeah.
Now you have to teach people to tolerate cultures and religions. But, I mean, how many wars have been fought over religion and culture?
Yeah.
So, it's a massive debate in culture, disability, I guess. Absolutely.
And you, Boyd, you were just, I mean, your whole family, not whole family, but I mean, Quaid boxed and does jiu-jitsu now, and he's at FFM.
Not at the moment.
Not at the moment.
On and off.
Yeah, on and off.
Okay, but I mean, he still trains.
Yeah, he's
Bridie trains.
Yeah.
I mean, she's actually trained with me when she was in Springs, and now she's with you guys.
Yeah.
You train. It's a big thing in your family.
Yeah, I think exercise in general is a good thing for the family. It also takes a mind off a lot of things, and it's just good for you in general. So, you know, they see how far I've come, and they see what I've achieved, and they're going, well, it must be doing something for him. So let's get involved and let's try it out. Quaid's an absolute natural athlete. He's just super lazy, and I'll tell him that every day.
And on the podcast.
He's got so much talent, and the moment he clicks, a lot of people are going to be in a lot of trouble with him.
Agreed. And you know, I always say that hard work beats talent every single day of the week. But hard work and talent. Man.
I mean,
would you say he's more talented than you are?
Yeah, I think he is. I mean, we've said a few times that kid's got dynamite in his hands. He just needs to touch someone and they go to sleep.
But you're just harder working.
Yeah,
you're more committed and devoted and dedicated.
Yeah, I think also my passion for the sport is what drives me, and he sort of needs something to get him there.
So I think he needs to find himself.
Yeah, he's obviously trying to find himself still, and I think when he does...
He's young, man.
Yeah, he's young. He's 22, but he's been doing it for a long time. He started boxing when he was 11.
Sure.
And he was at FFM from 16. I mean, Quaid was expelled. And I took him to FFM when he was still a kid, and that's where he started training and became Richie's protege at 16.
He's literally my protege.
Not a lot of kids can do that.
Wow.
In terms of coaching, that guy is like a little me. People don't know that.
Yeah, he's really good.
Obviously, with life gets in the way and stuff. But
of course,
that guy's coaching ability is ridiculous. He absorbs everything that I've ever showed him and taught him. Like, he's literally my second-hand man when I'm on the mat with all the fighters, pro athletes. Yeah,
I mean,
100%.
Two guys that I can hold or hit pads with, and that's Rich. And second to that is Quaid.
Really,
like a lot of pad holders and that don't really understand the way I move and the way I look at the way I hit pads. But Quaid can hold for me, and Rich obviously is the one that taught me how to hit the way I do. So yeah, he's super talented, and when he does find himself and he does decide to commit himself to MMA or boxing or whatever it is, then they're gonna have a tough time. So I mean, he started MMA 15, 16 years old when he fought at Fight Force. His first fight was as a junior. He was 16 years old. He fought a 27-year-old and won by TKO.
The kid can fight.
No, he can fight. We all know that.
Yeah,
we all know that.
He's a proper little scrapper from Springs, and he doesn't deny that, and he'll show you.
He's actually proud of. He's proud to be
at any stage.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's proud.
No, absolutely. You know, talent times effort equals skill.
Yeah.
Skill times effort equals achievement.
Yeah.
And all he needs to just do is just put in that. Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. Talking about your training partners, we've FFM has obviously got a really big pool of really good guys. I mean, Don Madge has been signed to the UFC. How incredible! Martin's taking over the title fight. Is that right?
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm just to mention a few. You've got two disciplines, obviously. You've got the stand-up section and you've got the ground section. Who's your favorite training partners in terms of stand-up?
Sure. So
who's the one guy you love training with all the time?
So I really love training with Mamadou Touré, Frenchie. He's a really good technical striker and he's got a lot of talent. And he's also the type of guy that understands the way I like to train. He knows that I'm not the type of guy that wants to smash my partner in the gym, and I don't want that either. You know, I try and avoid getting injured, and I'm not all about the contact. And when you want to turn it up a little bit, then there's obviously Martin van Staden. He's one of my main training partners, and we kind of sort of started at FFM at similar times. And I met him at Fight Force, trained with him before he had joined FFM, so we know each other really well. We know where to push each other and where not to push each other. And then there's Don. He's got great striking and great ground, great wrestling as well. And then we're fortunate in having two really good wrestlers in JP and BK. They're two really good training partners, and they're two brilliant up-and-coming youngsters. And I think
incredible. BK's my favourite fighter at the moment.
Go back to see a lot of people. The first guy he spoke about, Mamadou.
Yeah.
That guy's striking is insane.
Yeah,
but he just, he doesn't have that much fighting experience yet. So he's also still trying to find himself. But in terms of striking,
he's insane, and
people don't know,
an insane skill set. I love watching him fight. I love watching him perform in general.
And the nicest guy, just the nicest guy. He's always one of the first people to walk up to me and greet me. You know, just one of the seriously nicest guys. And at the end of the day, take away the fighting, take away the everything. The majority of fighters I know, from all aspects of life, from all different camps, are highly skilled, highly intelligent, or to a degree intelligent, nice guys. That's it. You take them out of the training camp environment where we're not there to be nice guys. We're there to train and fight and be who it is we are. And there is a pecking order, and there is a male dominance hierarchy, without a doubt, that everybody's trying to assert themselves. But take them out of that. Most of the guys just love the sport. Nice guys.
Yeah,
definitely.
And your favorite ground training partner?
Sure, that's Rich. Yeah, I mean, we've rolled together for a long time, but he knows where to put me, and he knows my strengths and weaknesses, and he makes me work on those. And then I love rolling with some of the general guys in our team. Craig Tuntis is one of my favorite rolling partners. And JP Misa, I love rolling with JP.
Craig's a big boy,
Yeah, and he's getting better and better every day, and he's really evolved very quickly in the sport. But all the guys, I mean, there's a training partner of ours that I really enjoy training with, and he's injured now, and he's damaged both his shoulders and neck in Koba Yakubitse. But that guy's an absolute machine and phenom in the MMA world. And unfortunately he's hurt himself pretty bad, but had he not been injured, I think
that guy
would be a superstar.
Yeah, that guy would have been a superstar. I promise you now. Koba, he had the striking, he had the wrestling, and he had the ground.
He's a 5-time national Georgian boxing champion, 95 fights, 93 wins.
What?
And he can wrestle, and his ground game wasn't relevant. Well, it wasn't really around when you started MMA. But when he tagged you, you knew about it.
He was the first guy to get a toe hold in UFC.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's the first guy. We always made, he's a big joke in the team, because we obviously we love the leg locks as well, but he's the first guy to only finish the leg lock in an MMA fight. And before that fight, he told Boyd, me, a lot of the guys in the team, he's like, listen, this fight I'm going to tap the guy with the leg lock. We're like, Koba, shut up.
Before he walked out, he's like, I'm going to get this guy's ankle. And
if one of my students had to tell me that, I'd be like, listen, brother, you don't dare, because it's too dangerous to be playing down there in the wrong environment. You get hit.
He's super confident.
He's super, and he's just got that mindset. He's like,
he's a fighter.
Yeah, he's a fighter.
Really?
Yeah, he's hardcore.
Nice.
There's a lot of guys that want to be fighters, and they're tough guys, but Koba's a natural fighter.
We've got a saying in jiu-jitsu, you can't teach heart. And if you've got that heart, and then you've got the skill, and then you've got the effort, I mean, then you've got a
good package.
Then you've got a very, very, very good package. How great is that tea?
Amazing.
It's good, eh?
Very
the
good.
Mate tea. So, quick question, guys. Last year, a group of you guys went to the States. And Richie and I have spoken about it privately, and you and I have, messaged a bit, but I'd love to hear about your experiences and your thoughts on America versus SA.
Sure. This is going to be an interesting sort of question, but so yeah, it was another one of the guys that's super athlete in the team. He's a bit bigger, so it's more difficult to train with him. Is Chad Huntley.
Yeah.
And it was myself,
Chad's
Rich, Chad, superstar. Martin. We went through to American top team, and we were all pretty excited, and we got to this amazing facility, and we kind of just realized it's a glorified factory for fighters that, they want to be part of a team and part of something, and you can be that, but it's very difficult to find a click and to find a coach that you can sort of.
Well, how many coaches are there?
Trust in. I mean, geez, there's quite a few. There's
big names.
Yeah, big names, big coaches.
Mike Brown, head coach. There was 3 or 4 Muay Thai coaches, 2 or 3 boxing coaches,
BJJ coaches,
like 6 BJJ
wrestling
coaches.
Yeah. Look, it's a complete factory for MMA. But when you're looking for that special touch, you don't find that.
Okay.
And I think it's important to have a relationship with your team and your coach if you want to be a professional athlete.
Yes.
And that we didn't find there. And everyone's sort of there for themselves. They, if they don't want to spar with you because you're being shown up or whatever it is, they just won't train with you.
So what actually happened? I mean, I'd love to hear the two aspects. And I mean, I'm always looking to hear that. But what happened on the stand-up and what happened on the ground?
We handled ourselves pretty well. I think striking.
Why is Richie looking at you like that?
Must I tell some stories? But
no, like, yeah, we did well.
Okay, let me tell the real story.
Tell me the real story.
Okay, so sparring comes.
Yeah.
All right, now you got maybe 80% of the mat is UFC signed contract fighters.
Okay.
Other 20%, other big organizations, ONE FC, Bellator, whole lot. So majority of the guys on the mat are massive names, and I'm not going to say much about who was there.
Okay, fair enough.
I had 3 guys on the mat. So I had Boyd, I had Chad, and I had Record Martin. Right. So obviously they want to now use these boys as cannon fodder for their boys.
Okay.
But that didn't go down very well for them. So Boyd sparred there's 2 guys in the UFC currently. One of the guys got a big knockout currently, probably maybe 4 or 5 UFC events ago, and basically this guy walked off the mat with Boyd.
Really?
Said, I'm not sparring this guy anymore. Yeah.
He literally said that.
He literally turned his back and walked off the mat. And this happened twice with 2 UFC guys.
Yeah.
Then there's another guy that was teeing off on Martin. Big name. Big name. That's probably going to fight probably the head a main card now in the next UFC or 2.
Mm-hmm.
And Martin just cracked him with a right hand and put him on his back.
Knockout.
Not
knockout, but just stumbled.
Stumbled. Where Mike Brown even looked at him and said, "Whoa, okay.
Yeah, this guy's got some
power."
Which we know he does.
No, and Chaddy was sparring with, also
the biggest of
the biggest boys, biggest names. One of the Brazilian guys there in the UFC is undefeated with probably one of the biggest knockouts, and Chaddy was there in the mix with this guy. So, obviously Boyd's super humble, but I sit back and I watch a lot when I am able to go overseas with these guys. I'm blessed that they bring me overseas, so I can tell you the real stories, because the truth is the truth at the end of the day.
Yeah. Well, if it's a lie, it's a lie. I mean, we don't want to hear that. But
100%.
And I mean, it was really sort of a big eye opener for us to see that we could handle on that level. But also, I mean, even watching, we saw ourselves as just general sort of athletes that were going through the gym. So we treated ourselves as such. We would join the general jiu-jitsu class, we'd join the fighters class, and we just try to get in as much training as we could. And I mean, it was scary to see how some of the top black belts there and coaches would avoid Rich on the mat. They would see you tapping a guy with a leg lock and they would go, cool, I want to roll with that guy, and they would try and take it out on you and try and dominate you. And then once they realize, well, we can't do it to these guys, they wouldn't come near you again. So
Ego,
from what turned in, or what we thought would be an amazing experience, turned into like
a bad experience.
You know, we're not really getting any good training, because not because there's not good fighters, just because the good fighters don't want to train with you, because they don't want to be shown up.
Yeah.
And you know, it happened a lot till eventually we thought, well, we're going to leave here and we're going to look for another gym, and that's what we did.
All right. And from ATT, you guys went to?
We went to a gym called Combat Club. At that stage, that's Henry Hoof's gym, and Henry Hoof is one of the best striking coaches in UFC.
Oh wow!
And Luke Rockhold, ex-coach of the Black Zillions.
Oh wow! Okay, all right.
Yeah, he's here. Rashad Evans, and he has a lot of big names, and that was more our fit and more our feel. You know, he had a smaller team, closer knit team, and guys that sort of train the way we like to train, push the way we like to push. Less ego and more work, and he took a liking to us and took a liking to Rich, and
still,
I mean, even still today we speak pretty much weekly, I'd say.
Awesome.
He wishes us for our fights, we wish him for his fights. We've been there more than
Isn't this once. The relationship we want?
Yeah, I mean,
100%.
That's obviously, you're trying to build a relationship wherever you go, and with whatever gym you train at. We were lucky, we went to Marcelo Garcia and Henry Hoof's gym, Marcelo in New York, and Rich built a relationship with some of the guys there.
Yeah.
We trained at Renzo Gracie with John Danaher. So we've been fortunate enough to travel a little bit and see just what kind of level we're on, and we're pretty happy with where we are.
What do you think? Obviously, it's a skill set thing, and I appreciate that. You guys have a really good skill set, and I love that. But for the general South African guys, right? How do you think the South Africans are in terms of just our desire and want to scrap? Because I've heard from a lot of guys, and I'm asking because I don't know, but I've heard from a lot of guys that South Africans, in comparison to a lot of other countries, are a lot more physical. Do you think it's true?
No,
I'm asking.
Yeah, we get that quite a bit. I mean, if you just look at the jiu-jitsu tournaments now with the Angolans and that, and they came up against quite a few South Africans, obviously, and they said the South Africans are some of the most physical people they've ever gone up against. And it's true. I mean, we go to a lot of other gyms and they say, like, you guys are really strong, and for us it's normal.
Yeah.
I think we are a physical nation, and obviously there's different levels of technique that needs to be involved, and you can't just be physical. But if you're training the right way, South Africans are going to be a tough nation to come up against.
Yeah, I think we just haven't had the coaches, and we haven't had the knowledge
and the exposure.
But like, you know, we have Kiki from Angola with us now, and she's a 2-time world champion, Grand Slam.
Okay.
And she said it very, very simple, that like, when the Angolans rock up to the Europeans or in Brazil and stuff, the guys actually hurt themselves because the Africans are so physical.
Yes, they are.
You know, and with the Angolans now getting the right training, they're becoming very technical.
Yeah.
And she said it's the same thing with the South Africans now. Guys are getting like, they don't want, because that physicality that the South Africans bring because of obviously the rugby culture, you know, and just
who we are as a nation. We're a warring nation, and don't ever forget that.
And you know, everywhere that I've been with these guys, it's one of the biggest things the guys say is that you guys don't stop. You're very physical. Technique is great, and a lot of the guys, I mean, they've sparred and grappled with like top level guys. It's more about the skill set other than physicality.
Sure.
And also, guys train here. You know, they like to train here.
We train for the sake of training.
We have internationals come over and they like look at us and go, "What are you guys doing? You're doing like 3-4 sessions a day. We do one." And we're like, "You're kidding? You're a professional athlete. How do you do one?"
Yeah, for you guys, of course, not for us mere mortals who have jobs. And
well, I mean, I think it's a culture. So Boyd and I, when we were in Marcelo, we met like stockbrokers, general average guys, don't even do competitions, but their love for jiu-jitsu, they by Wednesday they've done like 9 sessions.
They take their lunch breaks, they do a jiu-jitsu session, they do mornings before work, they do evenings after work, and then they still fit in their strength and conditioning purely because they just love jiu-jitsu. And I mean, just we got to roll with some really big names, and some of the guys are absolutely brilliant, where you go, wow, that was insane. And then some of the guys that you think would be absolutely brilliant, I mean, Rich was beating black belts there that have big names at Marcelo, where we're going, we on this level, like we can hold our own with these guys.
Yeah.
And that was a nice.
It's good validation for us, isn't it? Because this is what we want to do. We're this little isolated country, and first we started testing one another, and now it's like, okay, let's go play in that big bad world out there, and let's see what we can actually do.
And Boyd, as humble as he is, he's actually very like, he'll be the first one to put his foot in the pool. Like, he'll step on the mat and like, I'll tell the story. He like sees Gordon Ryan, so he's like, listen, I want to roll this guy, and I'm like, boy, just chill. Let's just roll. You know, the guests here. If you ask, he's like, no, stuff this. So he'll go roll right in front of John Danaher, look him in the eye, roll the guys, tap the guys, and then Gordon will be like, or John Danaher will be like, oh, who are you? Okay, come. What happened? Boy got to roll with Gordon Ryan.
How amazing.
That's
how amazing. How was that experience? Because I mean, we need to ask.
No, yeah, Gordon Ryan's legit. He's no joke. His leg locks are insane. He got me with 4 in 5 mined. And I mean, he was being nice.
He's probably playing around, yeah.
I rolled with his younger brother as well, and
Nicky Ryan, eh?
Yeah, like, you know, I had heard about him tapping all the adults and things like that in the competitions, and I was like, there's no ways I'm gonna let a kid tap me. Screw that. So I didn't. You know, so obviously, like, sort of enforce my will on him, and Gordon, being the older brother, saw, and he was like, oh cool, now you're gonna roll with me. And that's kind of what I wanted. You know, I had rolled 1 or 2 black belts there already, and I didn't mind you rolling with one of the biggest names in jiu-jitsu.
I know, you can get tapped.
And you know, I started going for leg locks and that on him, and he just countered, and he would tap me with leg lock after leg lock. But when I got up, it was, you know, he wasn't malicious in any way. He was a nice guy.
Sure.
He was really cool to roll with, and he was actually a really cool guy afterwards as well. We spoke on Instagram messaging. And
he's not the guy that people see on Instagram.
No, of course not.
What he puts on is purely for the show. You know, he's actually a really cool guy.
You know, jiu-jitsu is one of the few sports, and I've been saying this for years and years and years. Jiu-jitsu is one of those few sports where I actually get to not train with, but seriously spar with my heroes.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, not in all instances just because of geographic, but I mean, in a lot of instances, you get to roll your heroes. You get to hang out with your heroes.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, when Cyborg came through, I didn't go to his seminar, right? Roberto Cyborg Gaburi. I didn't go to his seminar because I couldn't make it because I had other things. But I met him in a competition, and him and I started talking about mate, and we were taking selfies, and he's like, yeah, next time you come, we're going to drink some mate. These are these guys. I mean, these are these big heroes. Yeah. But you take a rugby guy, when are you ever going to meet your heroes?
Yeah. Or even get to play with them.
That's
a big thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can step onto the mat and roll with guys that you look up to pretty much every day of your life.
Yeah.
If you walk into their gym, there's not a lot of gyms in this country that you can't walk into and just roll with the best guys there.
And even overseas, you know, if you walk in and you're not a douchebag and you're not trying to prove anything, you're probably, you know, and one thing is, the world's fascinated with South Africans. They really are. You from South Africa? Oh, cool. Now let's roll.
Yeah.
You know.
I think we're a nice bunch of people.
Yeah, I agree.
We get along with a lot of people, and
there's no space for douchebaggery in South Africa.
We don't have a lot of like ego when we walk into a place, and we're very respectful.
That's the biggest thing is that
I agree.
We South Africans, the more I've travelled and lived overseas and stuff, and travelling with these guys, the biggest thing is that we have manners. Yes, sir. No, ma'am. Thank you. Please.
Stand
May
up.
I stand up when an older person walks in. The manners from South Africans, not everyone, but
of course,
but
we generalize
our culture is very good, and that's when we go to other gyms, people pick up and go, these guys have really good manners, and that goes a long way.
Absolutely, man. Rule number 1: don't be a dose. You know what I mean. And then you add in the skill sets, and then you add in the intensity. I mean, especially from big camps like you and CRT, and you know, like the really big camps. And I'm not discluding, please, anybody else, but I mean, there is a certain level of intensity that you guys have. So you bring the intensity, and then we've got a good skill set, I believe, and it's getting better in this country. We're not there yet.
It's getting there.
And then you have the manners, and just be a nice guy, and you walk in, and everybody wants to roll with you.
Yeah, exactly.
Except for ATT.
Roll hard. Like, I mean, guys want to roll. Like, when I rolled with Gordon, I wasn't trying to take it easy.
Of course.
I know he appreciates the fact that I'm trying to go for him, and he likes to roll hard, obviously, and regardless of whether it's Gordon or whoever it is, other black belts from other gyms, you want to test yourself against them. So don't be malicious, but give them a roll.
Yeah.
Like,
You can't play pity patter with the guys.
Of course. Because then you can literally get
There's difference between being malicious and pity patting.
There's a difference between being malicious and having intent. And we're rolling with intent. You're there to train. Yeah, there's intent behind that role. But there's no maliciousness and no douchebaggery.
And a lot of guys, like, from all the gyms, when they see the guys spar and they see the guys roll, they immediately pick it up with them.
Yeah.
So you see, actually, it's obviously at the certain gyms. It was actually more. It was at all the BJJ gyms that the top names that guys look up to and watch every day would see these guys and be like, call them across the mat. Hey, let's roll. Because I see that manners, but they roll hard and they got a skill set. I want that.
I mean, I got to roll with Munch at Marcelo Garcia.
Yeah.
And I was going with one of the blue belts and going for a lot of leg locks and submissions, like sort of similar style to what he would like. And he could see that, like, I'd put on a submission, let it go for a leg lock, let it go. I wasn't trying to prove a point. Afterwards, he came up to me and he was like, cool, let's go.
Really?
After I had rolled with him, he was like, hey, where you guys from? He started speaking to me and he was like, oh, cool, South Africa, that's really cool. And I said, yeah, we'll see the guy over there with all the tattoos. He's like, I was like, go roll with him. And that's when he went and rolled with Rich, and Rich beat him. Like, you know, so, but afterwards, they're not the type of guys that go, I don't want to roll with him again. They're the type of guys that were like, hey, that was a good roll, let's go again.
Yeah. Or, how did you do that?
You know,
that's a true artist, isn't it?
Marcelo's school, geez, like that. They see that you roll well and you give them a go. They just like, hey, you coming back tomorrow?
We're gonna train tomorrow.
Or do you want to do another 20 minutes after class? Like, and then, hey, what's your number? Do you want to go for a beer afterwards?
You see the difference, really and you know, it's a culture, because it's a gym culture thing. And that's obviously being pushed down from Marcelo himself, because 100%. If it wasn't the case, it wouldn't be there.
It's a culture.
Yeah.
Yeah. For instance, the culture at Renzo,
it was a bit different. It was very commercial, but there was a lot of guys that were pretty cool. Like there was a team within a team.
Yeah. Yes, yes, of course. You've got Renzo Geis and then you've got the Death Squad.
Yeah. But it wasn't as nice as Marcelo.
And, tell why. I mean, because of the MMA guys.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of MMA guys and they've got an ego about themselves, and they've got a point to prove. So they won't tap. You know, they want to fight every submission. They've got a chip on their shoulder the moment you walk in and they see, okay, well, you are MMA guys and you BJJ guys. And then if you go to an MMA gym, you become an opponent instead of a friend.
That's okay.
A BJJ gym, you walk into a BJJ
and you become a training partner.
And you become a training partner and a friend. Like, cool, you tap me, I tap.
Yeah. Show me how you did that.
Yeah.
What is that?
And then you make the next roll even harder, and you become more difficult to finish, or he becomes more difficult to finish. Yeah. He or she, and that's the nice thing. You've got a mixture between males and females.
Sure.
And you're both comfortable in that world. So, yeah, it was a cool experience to go and train at an MMA gym and see the difference in the people at the MMA gyms and then the BJJ gyms. There's a massive difference.
Yeah. Culturally.
And Boyd also went to Jackson's.
Yeah.
Okay.
New Mexico.
Yeah.
He was in Jackson's for a while.
Yeah, so I went to Jackson's with Shauna Power for a little while.
That's right, yes.
And yeah, I mean, there's some guys that immediately just switch off to the fact that you're even there, and then give or take one or two guys, you know, I mean, Diego Brandao, the Brazilian UFC fighter, or ex-UFC fighter, he's at Fight Nights Global now. He's probably one of the nicest guys that I met there, and he was the one that called me and said, come roll with me. And
oh, nice.
You know, after he had sort of watched me for about 2 or 3 days, and you can understand that in the MMA world. I mean, when I started sparring with guys, there was one of the local fighters from Jackson Wink. He started sparring with a Russian guy, and he had a fight in like 3 or 4 weeks' time. He said, look, let's take it easy. The guy shot for a stupid takedown and dislocated his knee.
Ah, exactly. And I was just about to go there. Yeah, that's what happens.
He gave up, or he gave the guy the opportunity to be a sparring partner from like this Russian guy. And the Russian guy ended up hurting him in training, and he lost the opportunity to fight for a massive purse. So you can't blame the guys for not wanting to train with guys that just walk into their gym on a daily basis. But then you look at someone like myself, Chad, Martin, Rich, you go there and you go, cool, I want to be this guy's training partner. With all the good intention you may have, you also have to understand why they don't want to train with you.
Of course.
So it's not always just about the fact that you may be better than them or they may be scared or shown up. They also don't want to get injured, and they've got their specific training partners, just like I have mine.
Yeah.
If I'm
if I walked into a club and you didn't know me and I walked up to you and I wanted to train,
you know, I'd also like to see you sort of handle yourself a little bit and go, hey, this guy.
Do you have some competence? Do you have some self-control?
That's the thing, the self-control. You don't want to get injured because you're training with somebody that's not cautious or starts throwing elbows instead of punches or knees to the head. Silly. Where you're going to get hurt.
Don't forget, there's always going to be that douchebag out there that wants to knock out the guy. I knocked out so-and-so because now I'm a fucking hero. How irritating.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously in the States it's big. You go into a gym with a big name and you start tagging him and you wobble him a little bit or whatever it is. Now it's on social media and you've made a big thing about it. I mean, we've seen it time and time again with Connor and the guys that he sparred with, and then guys posting it on Facebook and whatever.
Portions of, and
you know, so you understand why a lot of these international guys also don't want to train with different people, and they've got their certain training partners.
Also think it's got to do with the coaching system. So I'm appalled by the coaching systems that we've been to in the US. Yeah. So like for instance, we've had quite a few SBG guys come to FFM.
Yeah.
Currently now we've got France.
Yeah, France.
Yeah, he's fighting for the Brave title now. It's one of the big SBG guys. We've had Will, we've had Tommy Gunn and all of that. And it's about when they come, they're a little bit cautious. But as a coach, I step up and go, listen, don't worry, we're doing technical. I understand the worry and everything. I'm going to put you with the right guys that are going to do the right technical ability with you. This is not an ego gym. I'm here to make sure that doesn't happen, you know. And you go to a lot of these big gyms names and like those coaches are not on the mat, so these accidents happen a lot because
bad coaching.
The coach is
absent coaching.
The person that controls the mat needs to do exactly that. Control the mat, control the environment, but it doesn't happen.
Yeah, even in my own club it's a massive thing. You know, a guy walks in and wants to try. Okay, where does he go to? Who does he train with? What do we first show him? And if there isn't a predetermined thing, that guy walks in, hurts one of my students, or walks in and gets hurt by one of my students, and then we lose him. This is
the perfect example is France. I did some technical sparring with him not so long ago, and you know, he put his head guard on and he was really ready for like some difficult sparring, and he went to Rich and said, look, I'm fighting soon, I don't want to get injured. Rich is like, relax, we know what we're doing. We know you just want to do some technical, it's just light striking, some movement, break a little sweat. And that's what he got, and afterwards he was like, thank you, that's what I needed, and that's all I wanted. I didn't want to get into a fight or you know, someone trying to prove that they're better than me.
Absolutely.
And that's how you build.
But this is how you build trust and friendships.
Also, it's changing the way of training. You know, the evolution of training is a big thing, and a lot of people stay behind. You got this whole it's fighting, so you must be a badass. You must just spar every day. You must just try to take each other's head off. And so, intelligent sparring takes a lot more. It will build you a lot quicker, and make you stay in the sport a lot longer.
Agreed, because you're not so punchy.
But you've got to be using your brain, and a lot of people don't want to actually do that. They rather take the easy road of survival mode, trying to do everything as hard as possible and so forth. You know, and some guys, because they're the top dogs, the bullies on the mat, the biggest guy on the mat, for them it's easy to have that methodology because they are the biggest people on the mat, you know. But to have intelligence and train smart, that's the key, you know.
And also, it takes a massive thing, putting your ego in your pockets. You know, and some guys just can't do that. But I mean, for me, as if I was an MMA fighter, I mean, guys, I'm a jiu-jitsu practitioner, okay? And already I'm sitting going, right, what's my longevity strategy? So as a fighter, I'd be doing exactly the same thing. Use your brain and protect your brain, because we know what punchy is. We know it exists.
Yeah, your brain and your body.
I
mean, you can't fight if you don't have both hands and both feet. And injuries happen all the time. There is that time once a week or once every 2 weeks, where you need that sparring session where you can push yourself and test yourself.
Sure, but not every day.
You get hammered, but not every day. And that comes from top guys in the UFC. I mean, Luke Rockhold,
Cowboy Cerrone,
Thompson. You know, they'll tell you they don't spar hard at all. They might do one hard sparring session once every week or every 2 weeks where they like climb into each other and they bang each other, just to keep them sharp and keep them aware. But other than that, it's all technical.
It's the intelligent thing to do, and I mean, it's only the right thing to do. Yeah, absolutely. So there's been a couple of rumors floating around, right, about you and boxing.
Yeah.
What is the story, and can you please set these rumors straight? Because I don't even know what the truth is, and I haven't asked you because I've been waiting for the podcast, and I've got so many guys asking me what's going on, are you doing boxing, etc., etc. What's actually happening?
Yeah, so about 2-3 weeks ago, I did my pro boxing license at Boyson's Boxing Club.
Okay.
I just went and had a sparring round with one of the guys, and I've been told that I've got my license now. And last year, November, December, I had a meeting with Rodney Berman from Golden Gloves, and he said, look, if you get your pro license, then you can come and fight at my promotion. We'll put you on the Golden Gloves card, and you can have your first pro boxing fight with Golden Gloves, which is the biggest promotion in South African boxing.
Wow.
And, you know, it would be a really nice place to start at that level and at that promotion. It's like walking into EFC if you're an MMA fighter and you've just started. You know, instead of starting at all these other promotions, you go straight to the big show.
Okay.
Which is really cool. And I come from an amateur boxing background, and I've always loved the sport. So yeah,
do you think, and I mean, because we know that boxing, you come from an amateur boxing, but you've been doing, I suppose you box every day. But I mean, do you believe you can hang at that level?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sparring with some of the top guys in South African boxing.
Colin Nathan,
Colin
of course.
Nathan's hot box
Everybody
gym.
knows Colin.
And yeah, like, you know, he's told me, and a few of the guys have told me, you can really do well, and we believe you should give it a shot. And like Rich knows, and my whole team knows, I love boxing, and that's where I come from. So I'd like to give it a shot professionally, and I have the opportunity now to do so.
Is the motivation purely passion for boxing, or what is the motivation behind it?
Yeah, it is purely passion. I mean, I'm not doing it for anything other than the fact that I love the sport.
But Boyd's passion is boxing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, you want to get him excited, I send him a boxing clip.
You want to get me excited, you send me a jiu-jitsu.
No, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Of course. He's got passion for MMA, for BJJ especially as well, but his boxing is something from a childhood.
Yeah.
You know, and it's a box he needs to tick.
Okay.
And I've always
almost
told
like
him,
a bucket list.
It's a bucket list for him,
Yeah.
and for him to drop this opportunity, I, as a friend and his coach, will never allow that.
No, I will do professional boxing in South Africa very soon.
Okay. And what is the idea in terms of number of fights, or any idea of first fight, or?
Like Rodney Berman said to me, it's your first professional boxing fight, and you're going to fight a guy that's also having his either debut or his 1 or 2 fights into his pro boxing career.
Okay.
Obviously, I come from a professional combat background, so I'm not clueless when it comes to getting into a fight. But boxing is very different, and he'll build me up and start me where I need to be started, and make sure that it's fair. But yeah, it is definitely a goal of mine, probably in the very near future.
Brilliant. How would the training work? Because training for 3 5-minute rounds and training for potentially 12 rounds, that's
okay. Take the time. 5 fives is 25.
Yes.
Okay. Then you get 3 12s. It's not far off.
Okay. I see where you go. Okay, because you're 5 fives.
Plus 5 fives, you're implementing a full structure of your body and a dynamic of the floor and the cage.
Yes.
Okay, so you get a stand-up guy, you put him on the ground for 2 seconds, and he's already huffing and puffing.
Of course.
Right.
Okay. Fair enough.
Boxing is a 2-dimensional sport in terms of using 2 weapons, left hand, right hand.
Yes.
That's it. I'm not going to say much. He's with Colin Nathan as well, but obviously I'll be with Boyd.
Of course.
But I'm so excited to show people what's going to happen. And a lot of people, you know, they have this thing, well, MMA guys can't do boxing, boxing guys can't do MMA. End of the day, I understand combat. I understand martial arts, and it's going to be amazing to and my first base was striking.
Yes,
right?
of course.
We've got Colin
discussed
Nathan
that in your
now,
podcast.
all right? That helps out a lot. But we've been doing a lot of things behind the scene in his MMA career with his hands for years.
Of course.
Yeah.
And the stuff that he's doing to the boxers now, and that's why Colin Nathan picked it up and saw this guy and goes, geez, like, you know, you could actually... You're doing something.
Yeah.
So,
but
time will tell.
I think with time, a boxer could come over to MMA, but I think it's easier for an MMA to go over to boxing because of the ground.
Yeah, I'm not even talking about like the vice versa. It's just the stuff that Boyd and I have been doing.
Got you.
Yeah. You understand?
Got you.
Yeah, we do striking every single day.
Sure.
And we do basically boxing every single day.
Sure.
Yeah.
But people don't know the system. People don't know what we do.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for a challenge to then people see Boyd and go, geez, like how the hell did this guy go from MMA to a top of the level boxing career, and then start understanding the system.
And you know, Boyd, take away, let's talk business, right? So take away the fact that you're ticking boxes, take away the fact that you're already, God, how many times? 1, 2, 3 time EFC champion, right? You're building a personal professional brand. That's what you are. You are your personal professional brand. And this just adds to it. You know, so let's say you do go out there and you do really well in boxing. Now all of a sudden you're really good in EFC and proven. You potentially do really well in boxing.
Yeah.
Not many people can say that.
Mm-hmm.
And there's not a lot of guys out there who could actually say that.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a good example. The same thing that Boyd's going to be doing with the boxing is Mark Hume doing it with Brazilian Jiu Jitsu.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mark's taken the
Jiu Jitsu storm. Yeah.
Storm. And
so what is the difference? He was an MMA fighter.
Absolutely.
Now he's a top gi, or actually the best gi competitor in the country. So it's the same thing. He's going from mixed martial arts into another combat sport of boxing.
Sure.
Yeah. Mark is another beast altogether. He's going to be a world champ.
Yeah. So I couldn't agree more. He is an absolute beast, and I mean, my fervent desire is to see JP Kruger and Mark Hume together taking the world by storm.
Yeah.
That would be, to me, that would be the ultimate. Yeah. You know, as old coaches in wheelchairs watching that.
Yeah. Exactly.
So, boxing this year, definitely. Do we know when the first fight is?
No, they wanted me for 3rd of March, but obviously I had committed to my EFC fight on the 10th of March, which also doesn't look like it's going to be happening just because I've been full of flu and been sick.
Okay, so breaks. Not happening.
Yeah, well, I've spoken to EFC and I said to them I'd like them to postpone or move the fight out just a month or two, maybe April at Carnival. And we're still obviously speaking about it, but I can tell you now, just having spoken to Rich and just being realistic about the situation, it's not good for my health to cut weight while I've been sick.
Because you've got flu, hey?
Yeah.
Bad flu.
So, yeah, I've been sick now for 9 days.
He's passed out twice.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
2 weeks from the fight, he's still got to cut 7 kilos.
No. Your longevity and your health is far more important than...
that's not healthy. I made the mistake once of stepping in when... I've saved a few EFC cards, probably 4 or 5, and
I'm fighting when you shouldn't have fought.
I'm not scared to take short notice fights as long as I'm in good health.
Yes,
there's a big difference. You can have a massive camp. I mean, I trained throughout December and Jan. It's now February going into March when I'm supposed to fight, and then you get sick and your body shuts down, and there's nothing you can do except recover.
Sure.
And for me to put my body on the line and risk it for what you would get is ridiculous. I mean, I love this. I love the sport, and EFC knows that they could phone me at any time, and I'd probably take a short notice fight in 2 or 3 weeks.
Which you have,
which I've done, yeah. And I've spoken to them and I've said, look, I'm not well. I'm not in good health, and I don't want to make the same mistake that I did in previous fights where I went in and I wasn't ready to fight health wise. I mean, it's a big difference if you're fit and you're healthy and someone phones and says, cool, let's go do a fight in 2 weeks. Sure.
Perfect example was the Danny Henry fight.
Yeah, you stepped up quick, eh? What was that time period?
Well, it wasn't not a short notice fight, but it was.
But it wasn't healthy.
That's right. You had. It was.
Yeah, I had two injuries. Dislocated rib, and then a cracked hip bone.
And he was sick before.
And Richard said to me, listen, but I don't want you to take the fight. You're not ready. Your body's not ready now. And at that stage, it was still like, you can't pull out of fights. That doesn't go down well, especially being like a Springs boy and having to keep up with like sort of tough reputation where you fight because you just love fighting and you don't really have a choice of when it comes your way. And that's how we grew up. If you were out and about and the fight came your way, you can't back off now. You have to fight. So. No.
Very much so.
And
so you carried that mentality, and essentially that mentality is not the right mentality to have when you're a professional sportsman.
When I tell the guys you're not ready for the fight, it's got nothing to do with their skill set being not ready to perform against another opponent. When I say, guys, you're not ready for that fight, means that you're not healthy.
Correct.
Or something's wrong with your body or health. Yeah. That's it.
Well, this is your meat vehicle, buddy. This is it. Yeah. You know, if you take somebody like me now, right? Take aside the coaching, but if let's say something happened to me and I broke my arm, right? I can still work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If you understand what I mean, or if I damage myself in some way, you know, I mean, bar something chronic, I can still go out there and earn a living and do. This is your living.
Yeah.
This is you.
Also, this is not abnormal.
No, of course,
these things happen in all the time in lots of promotions all over the world.
Absolutely.
In all sports.
All sports. And there are a lot of people sick at the moment. Yeah. I mean, I've been out on the road and I got back to the office the other day and, you know, and then I started getting phone from some of my students, and what I think it is this fluctuation of this heat. I mean, even now,
it's just that time of
the year. Yeah. Okay, so Kabesa fights off.
Yeah.
All right. No. Kabesa fights postponed. Definitely. All right.
Depending on what the UFC says, obviously.
Of course. Let's assume, for the sake of the discussion, that EFC turns around and goes, right, we want this fight to happen because a lot of people want this fight to happen, right? And we're going to postpone it to whatever the case may be, a month or two. How much are you looking forward to this fight?
Yeah, I mean, this is a big fight and it's against a quality opponent. Iga's no joke as an opponent.
No, because Iga, for the guys who don't know, is ex-FFM.
Yeah. So he's one of our ex-teammates and he knows our systems and he knows the way I fight and he knows the way we train.
Yeah.
And vice versa.
Exactly. So, doesn't this make it so interesting?
Yeah, I mean, you know,
I've seen this fight a few times. So.
Yeah.
So. In class.
Yeah. But
so who ordinarily wins?
There's always different scenarios on different days depending on how each athlete's feeling.
Of course. It was a silly question, but I mean, I had to ask.
It's going to be a great fight because at the end of the day, like when two opponents step in there, they don't know each other. It's unknown territory. But when two fighters step in there, that they know each other and they know the territory, it makes a greater performance because they know what to expect, they know what's going on.
So now I need to plan accordingly.
Plan accordingly, yes, but I mean, you know each other, so it becomes a very dynamic type of a fight that's going to happen.
And were you very good friends with him?
Yeah, when we first started training together, I mean, we became friends. Obviously, well, we put on a little show in Springs not so long ago. Well, actually quite a while ago, and it was a little MMA event at the Springs Indoor Centre.
Yeah.
And Iga and his brother walked in that night and they said to myself and a friend of mine, Brett Foster, they want to fight, like, you know, at this event. And we were like, cool, do you have any experience or whatever? And they said, we're wrestlers. So we said, cool, go in. And Iga fought and his brother Texera fought. And his first MMA fight in South Africa was because it was at our event. And we got to know them from there. And he walked into FFM one day and we sort of had a little sort of relationship because we had met each other before and got to know each other. And not every relationship always goes well and it can end badly, or so we didn't sort of part ways on the best terms.
Okay.
But we're not enemies. If we see each other, we greet and we chat, but we're not the best of friends.
I've got you. Yeah. So there's no emotions in this fight. It's business.
I think there is emotion.
My question,
but at the end of the day, we both know it's a fight that needs to happen.
Yeah, it has to.
Yeah,
it has to happen.
So
I mean, he's got the belt, and you believe the belt should be yours because that's your fighter's mentality.
Yes and no. Like I'm not chasing a belt from or an EFC belt. I've had it, and
I've had 2, by the way.
Yeah.
Just saying on the record, because when Boyd fought Leon was the current champion. Yes. Yeah, so and Leon wouldn't put his title on the line. And I mean, Boyd took that fight on short notice.
Yeah. So just so the guys understand that you fight at featherweight, right? And you stepped up to, or was it catchweight for lightweight, or did you actually step up to lightweight?
Lightweight, yeah.
Okay, so you fought at lightweight, beat Leon Maynard, which was one of the most fantastic fights. I love Leon, guys.
Yeah. So
I love him as a human being. I love him as a fighter. I love you as a human being. I love you as a fighter. And I was just sitting there, I was like, candy.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
No, yeah. He's an awesome guy and awesome fighter. I've been in the sport, 7-8 years now, and I've watched him.
Guy.
I think everyone that's been in the sport since the beginning
loves Leon. How can you not love Leon? And you know what I love the most about that fight? Look, we all know how stoic you are, and we all know that you don't smack talk, right? And we all know how actually reserved you are.
Yeah.
Leon doesn't smack talk either. So it was just these 2 gentlemen discussing one another's games, right? Then got in the fight and completely smashed one another. And you know, I mean, we know the outcome. We know how you beat him. But I'm saying it was just these 2 worlds, and it was so beautiful. For me, that was mixed martial arts. No smack talk.
Yeah.
Respect, fight, you won.
Yeah, it's becoming a little bit of a, I would say, circus show now, because you know, money plays a big role in it.
Of course.
And you have to have this certain persona now, which I don't really agree with. A lot of people argue with me with that, but I guess it got to do with your morals and how you're brought up.
Yeah. Do you know what I also think it's got to do with? I think it's got to do with us looking at the world, and the world, unfortunately, looking at America, and Americans doing things the way they do things, which is very dramatized. I mean, the WWE is a perfect example of how, take away the athletic abilities of these guys. I'm not questioning that, right? But it's a soap opera. And millions of people go and watch a soap opera. It's physical soap opera. And you have that culture starting in the UFC.
Well, it's just started in BJJ.
Yeah.
Gordon Ryan.
Yeah. I suppose. Damn it. Yeah, I mean, we've had some flavorful and colourful personalities.
AJ.
Oh, AJ. Listen, AJ's... AJ, so AJ Agazon, yeah, of course, 100%.
No, it's good for the sport in a way, because it brings attention to the sport.
Correct.
And that's what grows it. I mean, that's how UFC.
But you can't have 10,000 Conor McGregors.
No.
Yeah. No, you still need to be true to yourself.
Yes.
If you're that way inclined, and you like to smack talk, and you like to chirp your opponent or belittle your opponent, so be it. Then that's you. If you don't, then you don't. And some people will like you for it, some people won't.
Yeah. Oh, no, absolutely. There's always going to be somebody like it. I mean, I've discussed this in the podcast previously, this idea that, you know, when I first started my podcast, one of my students phoned me and he said, Hans, what I love most, aside from everything else, is the guy you are in class and the guy I know having coffee and you on the podcast is the same thing. And I said, I'm so intentional with that, because can you imagine creating a facade and then having to live with that facade? And then eventually, 100 podcasts down the road, that facade starts cracking.
And we saw that with Gordon Ryan. You get there and you expect this, like, you know, smack talker and cocky guy, and then he walks up to you and he comes and he's like, hey bro, do you want to roll? He's like, where are you from?
Nicest.
Yeah. He's from South Africa. You got lions there, and like elephants.
Of course.
Like that, they don't know. They've never been, but you know, they really. He was a really cool guy. So to reach afterwards, I was like,
that guy was
I'm actually
amazing.
shocked. It's nothing like the social media posts, or he was a nice guy. He could sit and chat with us, or could say, hey, do you want to go for a coffee or whatever?
What he's doing is working for him.
Sure, of course. I mean, he's the bad boy, no-gi guy, calling out all the major gi guys and no-gi guys. And proving, of course, 100%. So, Boyd, boxing, definitely on the cards.
Yeah.
EFC championship fight, I'm fairly confident on the cards, despite, and I'm sorry to hear that you're sick. I had heard rumors, but I actually thought you were better. But it is what it is, and you're looking after your health. Next question on everybody's minds, UFC.
Yeah, we're waiting. I mean, it's been spoken about, and I think it will be in the future sometime. Obviously, it's not as easy to get into UFC as what people think, and they ask the question a lot, but UFC has to spot you and accept and invite you to go and perform at their promotion, and we're on their radar. So
is there a strategy?
There's always a strategy, but pretty simply like this. Boyd is on Sean Shelby's lips right now. He's on the list. His name's being spoken about. I think in the next year there'll be some big news coming out with Boyd. Yeah.
Okay. It's good, right? I mean, because that's what we all want to see. That's what it comes down to. Yeah. Is it ultimately your goal?
Yeah. UFC is the pinnacle of MMA in the world.
Sure.
So there's other massive, beautiful promotions that you can fight at. But as a MMA lover, when I started MMA and I started watching MMA, it was all UFC.
All UFC.
And it's still the biggest promotion and the best run promotion in the world. And that's where you want to be. If you compete in any sport, you want to compete at the highest level.
Yeah.
And that's where you want to go. And
that's...
it's going to happen.
Yeah, it's going to happen.
What would be the training strategy? So let's say Boyd gets a phone call from the UFC and says, right, you're on. What would the training strategy be?
In terms of?
Meaning just logistically, South Africa to America.
Like we've been doing anyway.
Yeah. Give or take the week that we would go there just and travel.
Yeah. Train here.
But we always ask for European fights.
Yeah. Try and get the same.
Europe. Okay.
So if you look at all the guys.
Yeah, because if you're fighting in the UK, it's an hour off.
When Gareth was fighting with me, his first win, it was Europe. Always ask for Europe fights. Don now, we're going to ask for Europe fights.
Sure. And I mean, you get it or you don't get it, but at least you ask.
Yeah, you try.
Yeah.
And you just try and get it to.
And do you think Don's acceptance into the UFC increases your chances?
Oh, 100%. I think they're going to see that he comes from a good camp, and they're going to trust where he comes from, and they're going to say, cool, well, this is where Don's from. They've had Gareth from the same camp, and we've got two guys that are able to perform in the UFC and fight high caliber athletes, and eventually we're going to be one of the biggest gyms in Africa supplying guys to the UFC.
And not in UFC. UFC is the Olympics.
UFC, Bellator, ONE FC,
to all the big promotions.
Of course. No, there's some massive. I mean, Bellator on its own is massive, and I love the fact that there's competition. I love the fact that Bellator's come up and really putting on a good show.
Yeah, it's good to have competition.
And I wouldn't even look at Bellator. Yeah. There's massive European promotions out there.
Okay. Yeah, it's sad that, look, I understand from a business point of view, please understand, guys, UFC is a business, and I understand what they did by buying Pride and by buying, all these, but it's not healthy. It's not healthy for the sport.
Yeah, but they don't do it anymore.
No, they
and
don't.
Also the guys that are running the promotions now, they're up there, they take care of their guys. Good pay, take care of the guys, good organizations. So it's time, for me, I want all my boys overseas, earning in dollars and pounds, being able to raise a family and to get their dreams and all of that type of stuff, starting little businesses outside of their careers and stuff like that.
I couldn't agree more. You have this perception of what an MMA fighter is, and I know a lot of MMA fighters personally, man. I've seen them, like with you, from day dot. And you've got the perception of what an MMA fighter is, but what the guys don't see is just the devotion and dedication and time and blood and sweat and tears. And you can run the risk of getting to a point where, what do you do for a living if you can't make it?
Yeah.
It's almost you're all in and all out. And that's what guys don't understand. So many people, I want to be an MMA fighter. But you have no idea what it takes to be an MMA fighter.
And also, it's a hard life.
You must have it all the time.
But you know what? Like, I've seen it a few times that it's a hard life. Okay? But what is easy in life?
Nothing.
Especially when you're trying to get to that level and that pinnacle of your career in anything. What is easy? And it's those guys that just stick it out just enough that then succeed. I've seen so many guys, including my guys, that they're there. They just stick it out a little bit, and then they don't.
And they drop. But Rich, I mean, you take a business guy, right? So let's say, for argument's sake, I'm going to go into the corporate world, because essentially this is the question I'm asking myself as a young guy. Do I want to be an MMA fighter and a potential UFC champion one day? And we know how hard that actually is. Or do I want to go and work? You can still be mediocre in work and earn a living and take home money and start a family, and albeit not the most extravagant of lifestyles, but you can do that. I don't believe you can do that in MMA. You cannot be mediocre and make money
in this country.
In this country. Okay.
This country, Boyd and I and a lot of the guys have spoken about this a lot, also with the traveling and stuff. Africa, and I think we did it on the last podcast, Africa is the hardest place to be a professional athlete.
Yeah.
Because you can't be a waiter, have a part-time job like a bartender, have a roof over your head, food on the table, drive a car, and then train twice a day. Where Europe and America, it's easy to do that. They have an easy life to do. Majority of the guys that we meet do random stuff and can live and train professionally.
I mean, I've got an ex-girlfriend from Vegas who came to Africa, Emily Whitmire, who's now in the UFC. And when I met her, she was a waiter at a restaurant in Vegas, working 3 shifts a week, and could pay her entire monthly expenses on 3 days a week, and
train the rest of the time.
Train three sessions a day, and she's now in the UFC. And I mean,
that's impossible.
She's still a waiter.
Yeah, she's still a waiter.
You know, so
she probably gets bigger tips now.
Dave Mazzani's sister, Gina.
I don't know her. No,
same thing.
Same thing.
They're best friends. She's in the UFC now as well. She does the same thing.
Really?
Same thing. They're not a full-time job like day to day, but they work shifts and they train, and that they just sort of balance their lifestyle out so that they can be professional athletes and still make it a living where they cover their expenses.
Sure.
There they can do that.
And here we can't though.
Yeah,
that's the problem.
Yeah.
You know,
that's why I guess place to be a professional athlete is in Africa.
I want to be an MMA fighter. Or do you really?
Yeah.
Like, do you really? You know, there's even this thing. It's interesting because we have these dominance hierarchies that females obviously look at, right? And a fighter is always somebody that is sort of looked at and revered and all the rest of it. But even there, you know, it's like, do you really want to date an MMA fighter? Do you actually know what goes into? Because they're not partying.
Subject.
Weight cuts are cranky.
Yeah.
Hey,
that's another subject.
Let me tell you, it's ridiculous that by extension of the friends I have, I still have people invite me on Facebook. I'll look at them and my mutual friends are just fighters. And I'm like, I'm not a fighter, girls. I'm engaged. I'm a jiu-jitsu guy. I'm probably a little bit of a nerd, and I'm not that guy. I'm not a Boyd. You know? But does it happen often, Boyd?
Yeah, it happens a lot. I mean, sure, we get messages on Facebook. Look, some are really cool, and they're like, you're inspiring someone, and
amazing.
I mean, I've got messages on Facebook from clients and friends and students that have been with us for 3-4 years that were bullied, and you know they're growing as people now, and they train with us every day, and not just them but their entire family is part of the gym and the community. But then you get the odd 1 or 2 sort of stupid messages like, I want to fight, can you help me, where do I sign up,
or I want to fight you,
or I want to fight you, or like I need help getting,
or I want to fight
UFC,
you in the sheets,
challenge me. Like, I mean, you know, it's that's part of the sport, and you think to yourself, like, you know, these people are actually clueless. They know nothing about what goes into it. They think we live a high life and glitz and glamour, and
it's not,
and parties, and it's not. It's training every day.
It's no parties. And it's weight cuts. I mean, it's eating right. It's training.
Your weekends are for training and for rest. And then it's your whole week of training and rest, and then it's your weekends of training and rest. There's no every now and then, like, we obviously let loose and we let our head down, but even when we do that, you can't drink too much, you can't abuse anything, you can't do anything to hurt your body, because, you know, Monday's training again. So, and the guys that think you can do both, you're not going to last very long.
No.
And we've seen it many times.
Of course. And I mean, it is just what it is in this country.
Yeah, and you have to make the decision. Either you're going to be an athlete, or you're going to be a part-time athlete, and you're just going to do it because you love doing it. Then sure, if you're going to do it generally once a day, twice a day, if you're lucky, and you're just doing it for fun and for the love of the sport, then cool. But if you're going to be a pro athlete and you're going to step into the cage or on the mat and you're going to compete, different story.
Yeah, big time, eh? Yeah, I mean, I'm that guy.
Yeah, I mean, we get to events and we listen to guys telling us about how professional they are, but they've had their 5th brandy and coke, and you're going, you don't look very professional, and you don't carry yourself as a professional athlete because it's Friday night and we all training tomorrow morning. What are you doing?
Yeah,
you know, so
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, if I'm coaching my guys, never mind SCBGF, because I mean I'd never drink, but if I'm cornering my guys at an amateur event, I will not have a single drop of alcohol.
Because I know just from experience. I mean, Rich has like nervous breakdowns the nights before fights, and that doesn't sleep, and he's stressed. I mean,
the sweaty
what
palms,
we go through, he goes through.
Oh yeah,
and
I'm
sometimes even more so than us. I mean, he cuts weight with me when I fight, and then two events later, which is 4 weeks down the line, he's cutting weight again with the Mart, or he's cutting weight with Frenchie, or you know, like he's just there as a support structure and just to sort of keep everything cool and chat about things, but also he's not pretending to play the part. You know, I've been to a lot of gyms and I've seen a lot of coaches. A lot of the coaches that you see aren't fit enough to train with their students, can't even show their students the right techniques because they're out of shape. And not a lot of the coaches can actually train with their students.
Or they want to be the alpha without doing the alpha
so they
stuff.
want to tell you what to do, and they want to tell you how to live, but they don't live that way. Where Rich is very different. He shows you how it's done by doing it.
Well, but I'm also not the alpha. So this is what a lot of people don't understand, is that I don't step on the mat trying to be a badass, trying to be a fighter. I'm not. I'm a coach.
Yeah, a coach and a training partner.
I transfer knowledge.
Yes.
I'm not there to be better than my students or live through my students.
That's what bullies us.
But I mean, if you look at when he does bully us. And we can say that. We can gang up against you, Rich. But I mean, look, on a serious note, when we get on the mat, you do bully me and you do meet me up, but there is no ego involved. There's no intent to prove a point other than skill, ability, technical knowledge. Yeah.
But I still get tapped on the mat every day.
Yeah. Not me yet, but
not every day.
I've been close. Listen, gentlemen, this has been absolutely fantastic. Boyd, Bureau, it's been such a pleasure. One more thing. You be you.
Boyd, tell what's going on in the next few months. You opening up or
are you opening?
Starting a new business?
Yeah, so I'm going to start a gym in Bryanston. And I've been pretty fortunate to have met the right people, and I have the right type of backing.
Wow.
And I'm gonna start a gym and try and build a community and an energy that I love being around.
Okay.
And obviously with Rich as my mentor and
head coach,
my guide through this, that's probably the only reason I'm doing something like this. And it's exciting and nerve-wracking at the same time.
Of course.
I've never sort of run a business, not a gym. I can train people and I love training, but it's very different when you have to run a facility. And I understand that, and I'm committing to that, and that's one of my
how amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So when we say gym, full MMA gym?
No.
It will
Brazilian Jiu Jitsu.
It will be a bit of everything, I think.
Okay.
Mainly boxing. We'll have a Jiu Jitsu section and a strength and conditioning section, and you kind of got to make it sort of something for everyone.
Is it sort of focused at a commercial market?
Every market. So like I'm just stepping in quickly,
please,
because I'm excited because he's spoken to me about the ideas and the system and how he wants to do things, and to me it's going to be amazing. Like he's going to run a little boxing section, and he's going to have a Gracie Bar Santon in there.
Beautiful. Okay, so there is Gracie Bar under it.
There's going to be a little conditioning.
Is it going to be in
session.
Santon?
Yeah, it's in Bryanston.
Nice.
Santon, so it's quite a cool area, and it's quite a nice facility. So I'm excited about it. And
it's going to be how amazing. The ideas that he's spoken to me about. The facility is first class equipment, first class everything. How he wants to run things is going to be absolutely amazing. So like I believe a few months in, this gym is going to be pumping with Boyd, you know.
Brilliant.
And who doesn't like to train with Boyd?
No, absolutely. I love training with Boyd. I don't like getting tapped by Boyd, but I do love, because I used to coach Boyd and now I get tapped by Boyd. That's fucking great. Thanks, guys. When are we looking at starting?
Probably around April.
Okay.
Yeah, we're looking for
how amazing
4 to 6 weeks from now. It should be up and running.
And for someone like, I mean, this is something we've been discussing, this natural progression of our students, you know, branching out and creating their own, and you've got your mentor. Hell, I've got your mentor. He's my mentor too.
I've got 2 students that have done it the right way, and I'm super happy about it. You know, you got the vet, Gracie Bar Polokwane,
absolutely,
who did it the right way with me, and you know, he's pumping up there. And then obviously Boyd Allen now, who's done it the right way, and he's very nervous, but
of course. But you've got a good support structure, right?
Yeah, he's going to do an amazing gym.
Absolutely. Yeah. And who, like you said, who doesn't want to train with Boyd Allen? Exactly. What a pleasure, Bru. Who doesn't want a podcast with Boyd Allen?
Exactly.
I'm glad we finally got to do this, guys.
Sure.
I'm so impressed, Bru. Good luck for the future. We hope to see you fighting Kabesa, definitely. Yeah. We hope to see you in Golden Gloves, which I know I'm going to watch without a doubt. We really hope to see you in the UFC, and I'd love to come and coach at your club, and I'd love to come and hang out with the guys, and we'll create this white belt culture and get the guys in there, and it's going to be too amazing, man. Richie Quan, what a pleasure having you with us.
Cool.
Guys, everybody, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Much appreciated. So long, and thanks for all the fish. Ciao, guys.
Cheers. Sure.
Right, guys, I hope you enjoyed that episode of the podcast as much as I did. I think the dynamic with Boyd and Richie was really, really interesting. The reveals were absolutely interesting. I mean, can you believe it? On the podcast, he dropped the fact that he won't be fighting Kabesa due to his flu, and it is what it is. But so much coming in the future for this young, stoic gentleman by the name of Boyd Allen. So much happening. Hopefully we all wish him the best in terms of UFC and his boxing career as he ventures into boxing, and all the best for his gym, which will be opening soon, and I'm sure I'll drop some details about that when that happens. I'm always willing to support and assist any of my guests as much as I possibly can. So yeah, guys, and that episode of the podcast was brought to you by, of course, my main equipment sponsor, Jared Smith. His album is available on iTunes and Amazon, and it's called Charcoal Sketching. And go onto YouTube, guys, go check out some of his new music videos. They're really, really incredible. In terms of my partners, this episode was brought to you by Teletrack, who sponsored me with professional studio space in Rivonia. Dieter, thank you so much for all your help, bud. Unleashed TV, Mark Herbert, thank you for all your designing, and thank you for all your advice on all things TV. And then, of course, to Bisha IT, my webs, my digital ninjas, thank you for all your help. Guys, until next time, thank you very much. Ciao.